So lean manufacturing, what is it? A way of seeing the underlying waste. We're looking and we're doing manufacturing, or we're managing an office, or we're doing computer programming and stuff. We're looking to find out where in our production process is waste, and we call waste a muda. It's to reduce waste. A lot of waste is hidden with inventory paperwork. Just we hide it, we can't see it. So examples that I've come across, where I've seen companies working in multiple factories, and they would create something in one factory, send it to the other factory to be further worked on. So there's waste in transportation there and stuff. But sometimes we would send stuff and there'd be slight problems with it, and they would send it back to the first factory, and we'd fix it, and then we'd send it back. All of that to and froing was lost within the inventory, and it was allowed to carry on. So all that waste costs money, as does things like defects, poor production planning, long lead times, inefficient machinery, poor scheduling, etc., etc. And one way the way to see some of that is to reduce inventory and start looking at the whole process itself. So lean, we're going to increase productivity. That's what we want to do. We want to reduce waste, increase profits, and improve quality. That should come by simply looking at the process, looking where muda is, where waste is, and trying to reduce that. It's not a one-off event, though. It's not. It's about a journey, not the destination. In some respects, it's almost circular. It's minor improvements. You don't sort of, this is it, job done, stand clear. It's constantly looking at processes. How can we improve it? So a little bit what I'm going to talk about now, I've actually taken from Abby's presentation that he did quite a long time ago. You might come across Abby in some of your teachings. So I've adopted his PowerPoints. So what we'll be discussing, we're looking at the big picture, the waste. What is it to be lean? What is it to be agile? And then we'll have a quick look at two concepts like 5S. So went quickly through. Lean is to improve efficiency, effectiveness, and profitability. Focus must be relentlessly eliminating all possible forms of manufacturing process which has waste, as in doesn't add value to the product. And we specifically mean product in relation to the customer. The customer's paying for something. He doesn't want to pay for a product going from one factory to another factory. That's not benefiting him. If you actually spray paint in a car, it's coming to a different colour. Yeah, that's adding value. Or you're adding code to a program, that's adding value. But you've got to find out where the added value is. Or value stream mapping is a technique. So it might involve tools like looking at fish diagrams, value stream mapping, 5S, SMED, which single minute exchange of dies. 5 whys is a nice one. I always like 5 whys. It's sort of akin to when a child is asking questions. Why? If you ask somebody, if you've come across a problem, so for example, a machine has broken down and so production stopped. So your boss says, well, why is production stopped? Because the machine is broken down. Why is the machine broken down? Because some pipe work was ruptured and the oil leaks all over the floor. And that, if you stop there, you'd fix the pipe work, and then we carry on. Maybe a couple of weeks later, the pipe might rupture again. So the question would be, why is it ruptured? It might be that swarf material from this machine is caught around it, and it's cut into it, and eventually worn through and cut it. And then you say, well, why is swarf catching it? And it might be that the cleaners used to come once a day to clean that area up, and now management have reduced it to once a week, and what's happening is been a big build up of waste material there, and it's cutting into the pipework, and that is making the oil leak, which is meaning the machine stops working, which means production stops. So asking 5 whys, you'll actually bury down to the root cause of the problem. And there's lots of other best practice techniques. We're not going to cover them all today. Even just 1 or 2 of these value stream mapping, you could spend days and weeks on courses on how to do this. All proven as effective ways of driving down the presence of waste. So all of these techniques and many more are there to reduce waste. Remember, it's all about eliminating muda and ensuring Kaizen. Kaizen is a continuous improvement. Like I said earlier, it's not just a single journey. It's more like going around a roundabout in some respects. You're constantly trying to improve and improve and improve, continuously improving. So muda, original way things used to be done, we gather the requirements, generate designs, develop designs, test, and then launch a product. There'd be no closed loop sort of thing. And the problems also involve humans, which is as soon as you have a human involved, there's always a way of doing it right and always a ways of doing it wrong. So Lean principles, Dr. W. Edward Deming, which if you do your research, you should see his name quite a lot popping up. He said for a company, by adopting appropriate principles of management, organizations can increase quality and simultaneously reduce cost. So it's got to be a management process as well. It's got to be a top-down decision making. It can't be 1 or 2 people within a company implementing these ideas. It's got to be top-down. It's got to be lean manufacturing considers expenditure of resources other than direct creation of value. So that's that value added. You know, I'm spending money on transporting product from A to B. Why am I spending money transporting from A to B? Because it's not adding value. If it adds value, that's great, but we should try and reduce it as much as we can. Always work from the customer's perspective. I don't want to pay for that, says the customer. Why am I paying for all of this? So it's that value stream. So eliminate waste, build quality into the product, create knowledge base around the factory, allows us to deliver faster, optimize the whole work process, and defer commitment to so take ownership of everything and find out where the problem is. One way to look at it is an acronym called Tim Wood. I've been teaching for 28 years. I'd always wanted to meet somebody called Tim Wood, but it helps us when we think of the 7 deadly wastes. So Tim Wood stands for transport, inventory, motion, waiting, overproduction, overprocessing, and defects. Have a look at that slide. Maybe pause the presentation now and look at where in your life, when you're doing assignments, or if you've got a part-time job or you've worked somewhere else, where do you think some of these wastes, have you come across them? So hopefully you've had a time to think about this and transport unnecessary work moving around a factory. I did a project with a company who made brake pads for cars, and we worked out that the raw material travelled within the factory 2 miles, just going from A to B to C, 2 miles, and that transport is not adding value to it. It was just a badly designed factory where it was going from A to B to, it was going around the factory in no particular structure and no scheduling and stuff. Inventory, we said earlier, inventory hides waste, excessive goods. So if we have loads of material, it doesn't matter, if we can just go to the materials, the stores, and get some more out. If we scrap something, just get another piece, and it all hides all that. So too much inventory, motion at the production, you know, where you're making stuff. If you're having to move around too much, the layout of the manufacturing cell is badly designed. You're having to hunt for things as well. It's just design your production cell so that it's minimum amount of motion. Or wait times. If you've ever had to do a job and then you wait for the next job to come along, that tends to be a very push-based approach to producing things, so that it pushes from one department to the next department, rather than a pull, where when the one department's finished doing their job, they ask for the next one. So if you have a little bit of research on what the differences are between push and pull production. But waiting times, excessive waiting times, waiting for products, waiting from one product from another department, and one company who would use just in time, and they would require parts to be at their factory at 9 o'clock on Monday. If they were late because they were so reliant on just in time, that company, the suppliers, would be fined an enormous amount for every 10 minutes that product was waiting outside. Overproduction. When you make something like in engineering, you might make it might take you 2 hours to set up the machine, and then you make 100 of. So you're offsetting that 2 hour setup time to create those 100 parts. If you could make 1,000 of, that 2 hours setup time means that the offset per part is a lot less. So you in false economy, you make more, you overproduce because you're offsetting that 2 hours setup time. We'll talk about this later on. But overproduction, we make 1 or 2 more, a baker's dozen. Overprocessing, adding too much to a product that it doesn't really need, making it better than it really needs to be. If your customers pay for a product and you're overcomplicating it as well. And finally, defects, just an obvious waste. So combating those, transport, value stream mapping, do a value stream mapping. Do some research, guys, on this. Value stream mapping, it makes you look at where is value being added and where is value not being added, and yet it's costing you. So it looks at work in progress to inventory, theories of constraints as well. Inventory, just in time, continuous flow, that's what you want to reduce wait times as well. Have everything moving through the factory continuously. So that might be things like Kanban, single minute exchange of times, a takt time. Takt time is where, so if you went to a manufacturing of cars, you've probably seen it on TV where a car in a big production line moves forward to the next station. Somebody runs in, puts the wheels on, and then it moves to the next station. That takt time, that 90 seconds, is when everything stops. The guys run in, they put something on the car, and then it moves to the next station. And everything moves at what's called takt time. So it might be a 90 seconds. So every station moves. So in theory, a car comes off of the production line every 90 seconds. Motion, look at the design of your work space, and look at 5S techniques, and we'll talk about them later. Wait times, again, continuous flow. Look at design processes so that flow is continuous. Overproduction. Look at Kanban theories and single minute exchange of dies. Overprocessing, Kaizen, continuously improving compared to customer needs. What does a customer really need? What they're prepared to pay for? And defects. Some things called poker yoke design. Try and design things that when you design it, you can only assemble it one way, because if you can assemble it the wrong way, somebody will assemble it the wrong way. So 8 deadly wastes rather than 7 deadly wastes. Some companies put this in, it's non-utilization of your workforce. It's nothing worse than having somebody who's doing something, they're capable of so much more. So that's like an eighth deadly waste. Quick overview. So Lean is seeking perfection. You're not going to get there, but you can try your best. It's rooted in Toyota and Ford Motors. It's rooted in the manufacturing company, looking for create continuous improvement, and it tends to be around the pull rather than the push design of a flow through a company. So you pull it through the next department is requesting the next job and the next job and stuff. Lean thinking, agile refers to flexibility of your business process. So agile means it's flexible. So, you know, years and years ago when Ford produced the first car, it was you can have any colour as long as it's black. And now you have multiple colours. Yeah, so it's agile, and you might have alloy wheels, you might have tinted windows, so it's agile. So listen to what the customer wants, but with that, it really makes it harder to be lean because we're trying to produce multiple versions of the same thing. So they're almost counterproductive in some respects, lean and agile. Agile refers to an organised business that has identified opportunities to be lean and created the process, tools and necessary training to enable quick responses to customer demands. Market changes while controlling costs and not compromising quality. So it's listening to your customer, being able to change things, but with that, it does have it makes it harder to be lean as well. So lean thinking to agile manufacturing, it's about speed and agility as a core competitive advantage in the marketplace. So if we can produce these things fast, but also if we need to change it quickly, then we can do. So this brings in things like Scrum, 5S, Kanban, like I said, tech time, single minute exchange dies, value stream mapping, standardizing of work, which is sort of counterproductive to having multiple versions of the same product, and Kaizen. Agile manufacturing principles is based around customer satisfaction is the highest priority. Cooperation between businesses, suppliers and employees. We've got to be able to talk to us as suppliers, people we're working for, people we're working with. Projects around motivated people, so that's about making sure that we don't have that eighth waste, that they're doing a job that they're more than capable of doing one above. Keep your staff well trained. Welcome change, so if change happens, welcome it and adapt to it. Sustained pace of development, so you've got to keep developing your company. Continuous attention to technical excellence, simplicity. Process measuring, so keep measuring. If you go around a factory, you'll see lots of metrics on how well the company are doing, and keep reflecting on how you're doing and adapting and stuff. So elements of agile manufacturing might be modular production design, lots of information technology, corporate partnerships as well, that's supplying us with information or products and stuff, and knowledge sharing. This is two nice sort of pictures where you look at lean, agile and lean. So you can see on the left side, agile versus lean. Volume. Lean lends itself to high volume, but it makes it quite hard to be agile. So it's sort of that little bit of fighting. And the house that based around lean and agile has lots of things like just in time, Kaizen, stability, standard work with 5S, and it tells you in that diagram a lot of sort of ideas that we'd like to cover, but we don't have enough time. So lean versus agile, little or no customization is lean. Agile, lots of customization. Minimum version of product, so we only want 2 versions, or make a Ford with 4 wheels and it's black, whereas agile wants lots of different variables. Minimum inventory buffers are used in agile. Perfect quality, accept quality levels, acceptable quality levels. And so there is this, if you read there, a fight between lean sometimes and agile. If you can get that balance, that's what you're looking for. So lean versus agile focus on increasing business sustainability in a mostly volatile marketplace. So the market changes, and you've got to be, as a company, got to be able to adapt to it and keep up to date. And so a lot of challenges faced by businesses, manufacturers and other industries allows smaller players to compete against larger entities in the marketplace. Yeah, I suppose so. Both concepts rely heavily on standard statistical analysis, getting that data, looking at it and working with it. I've worked with companies where they've there was one company in Halifax who was paid to monitor the data coming off a very big company who make aerosol sprays for the beauty industry. They made them somewhere else in England, and they wanted to collect all the data of all the different machinery and stuff, how things were working, how was there any breakdowns, how production was going and stuff, where the value stream was. So collecting that data, that big data, is really important. So that is a very brief introduction to Lean and Agile. It's all about looking at how you produce something. It doesn't have to be manufacturing. It could be within the office. So if you're a design office, having appropriate file naming conventions within a company is a requirement. I've worked at a company where the drawing office had drawn a product. They'd sent it for the product to be manufactured. It was manufactured. Then 6 months later, that product was required to be reproduced. There was another order. We couldn't find the drawing, the original drawing. We eventually ended up sending for the first product to come back to the factory. We measured it up, reverse engineered it, and then redrew the product, and then the product went to the shop floor and was manufactured, because nobody knew where the drawing was. And it turned out it was literally lying on another design office guy's table. He'd just not returned it to the stores and stuff. So having good file naming convention, making sure that you're working with the latest version, and it's where it should be. We all know where the drawing is, or who's got ownership of it. It's similar to when you're writing computer programming, variable names and stuff. I know that the BBC are really into all their variable names. I think it's got to start with a capital letter and stuff, and they have very strict rules of anything. So I had a friend who wrote some Flash programming, I think it was years and years ago, for the BBC, where it was for the bite-sized educational website, and he'd done it all, worked absolutely fine, but they hadn't gone to the naming convention, so he was required to completely rewrite it. Well, can't completely rewrite it, just change all the variable names and stuff. So standardization and getting a grip with all of this is very important. So hopefully you've got a good idea of what the module's about, and we will delve more deeply into some of those topics, but we're not going to be able to cover all of them. So I'm going to expect you guys to go out and do your own research as well. Okay, hopefully that was helpful. Thanks a lot.